Good morning, boys and girls. Today we are going to talk about fiction stories. So when you read a book, sometimes it can be fiction, which is fake, or it can be nonfiction, which is real. It really happened. The people are real in it. So there's two different kinds of stories. So this week in reading, we're going to be talking about fiction stories, which are fiction fake. That means they're not real. They don't have real people. Usually in a book, they have pictures that are drawn and colored. That's a big sign that a story is fiction fake if the pictures are drawn and colored. So characters are like the people or the animals that are in a fiction story. There's also the setting of a story, which is where are they? So you can see this boy standing on a floor and he's drawing on a wall. So where do you think the setting of this story might take place? Turn and tell your parents where you think this story might happen. I think it's going to happen inside somewhere, inside of a room, maybe a school, maybe their house. I don't know yet, but that's my prediction. So you have the character, which is the people or animals. You have the setting, which is where the story happens. So I'm going to read you this book today, and then you have some assignments that will be attached to this video. So the book is called A Squiggly Story. And the author is Andrew Larson. That means he wrote all the words. And the illustrator is Mike Lowry. So he drew the pictures. A Squiggly Story. My sister loves to read big words and little words. Page after page, word after word. My sister loves to write big words and little words. Page after page, word after word. So far we have one character in our story. That's the girl. That's a sister. Sometimes I pretend that I can write too. Big letters and little letters. Swirl after swirl, squiggle after squiggle. So what is that little boy writing? Is he writing a story maybe? I don't know. He could be writing a story. Look at all those squiggles and letters. And you can even see a word right here. It says hat. So he's trying to write the best he can. What are you doing? I ask one day while we're sitting at the kitchen table. I'm writing a story. I wish I could write a story. You can. It's really easy. How? I know my letters, but I don't know many words. Write what you know. Every story starts with a single word, and every word starts with a single letter. Why don't you start there with just a letter? So even if you don't know how to write whole words yet, you can still start by writing the letters that you know. So I get my crayons and pencils and a pad of paper and I start to write. I start with a single letter. It's an easy letter. What letter is that? The letter I. That's a good beginning. Now what's going to happen? Well, how should I know? It's your story. You're the boss. So both of these characters are writing now. They don't know what they're writing yet, but they're writing a story. If you wrote a story, what would your story be about? Turn and tell your mom or your dad or whoever's there next to you what your story would be about if you were going to write one. I what? I'm stuck. What happens next in my story? I decide to draw a circle. It's a soccer ball. Then I write another letter. I, soccer ball, you. It's you, I say to my sister. I'm playing soccer with you. Great. Now, where are we going to play soccer? Maybe we're going to play on the beach, I suggest. We've never played soccer at the beach. That's turning into a good story, isn't it? Have you ever played soccer on the beach before? That would be fun, wouldn't it? So I do a bunch of dots next for the sand on the beach. Then I make a bunch of V's. I wonder what those V's are going to stand for. Big V's and little V's. Wave after wave in the ocean. Oh, so I play soccer with you at the beach while there's waves in the ocean. Very good. Now what? What do you mean? You have a beginning. Now we're in the middle of the story. Something else has to happen so we can end the story. So that's another part of a fiction story. You have a beginning, a middle, and an end to your story. Every fiction story has all three parts: characters, setting, beginning, middle, and end. I'm stuck again. So I start doodling. I doodle another V, but this time when I doodle it, it's upside down. Oh no! It's a shark! It's getting closer and closer. I flip the page to get away from the shark. So can you help me read this story right here? I play soccer with you at the beach where there's waves in the ocean and a shark. That's a pretty good story so far. The next day, I bring my story to school. It's my turn for show and tell. That means I get to sit in Mrs. Singh's chair. Everyone else sits on the carpet ready to listen. So this label right here says that this is Mrs. Singh. She's the teacher. And this label says Mrs. Singh's chair. Last night, I started to write a story. It's sort of squiggly, but here it goes. Once upon a time, there was a brother and a sister, and they loved to play soccer. One day, they had an idea. They decided to play soccer on the beach, so they went to the beach and played soccer. Then they noticed something coming towards them in the water. It was a shark, a real live shark. It was getting closer and closer, and it was getting bigger and bigger. How do you think they would feel if they saw a real live shark? I would be really scared. And that's as far as I got. That's a wonderful story, says Mrs. Singh. What happens next? What about the shark? And what about the brother and sister? I don't know yet. I'm stuck. Mrs. Singh asked the class if they have any ideas to help. Jake waves his hand in the air. I do. Maybe one of them kicks the ball and it hits the shark in the head. Then maybe the shark bites the ball with his big, sharp, pointy teeth. Aaliyah offers another idea. What if the shark's name is Squiggles? What if Squiggles is a vampire shark? What if she invites the brother and sister to ride on her back? And what if they become a vampire family and live forever? Vampires can't swim. Everyone knows that. Of course they can swim. Vampires can do anything. But it's my story, and I don't want vampires in my story. If I was writing a story, I would have lots of vampires in it. Then you should write one. But I like your story. So that's the neat thing about when you write your own story. You can do whatever you want in it. You can put whatever characters, you can have them wherever you want them. And if you want vampires in it, you can put vampires in your story, but you don't have to. It's really cool to write stories. That night after dinner, I sit down beside my sister. Her face is buried in a book. I've been thinking about my story all day, and I still don't know how to end it. So remember, there was a beginning to his story, a middle to the story, and now he's trying to put an end to his story. Remember, you're the author, she says without looking up. You can do whatever you want. So I get my pencil and I start drawing a bunch of stars. Then I add a few exclamation marks. So here are the stars that he drew, and there are the exclamation marks right there. My sister told me exclamation marks make things exciting. And she's right, it is exciting. I also add a couple of slanty lines. What's going on? Asks my sister as she looked up from her book. It's nighttime and the stars are out. The shark has gone away and we decide to take a walk on the beach. That's when we discover a giant rocket ship. Wow, that sounds exciting. What happens next? We hear a voice, and it's counting down. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Blast off! So where do you think that rocket ship is gonna go? Do they just go into the sky? Or do rocket ships go all the way to outer space? I think they go all the way to outer space. Not yet, I say, as I add one more squiggle. Just before the rocket blasts off, we spy a Martian looking out through the window. The Martian invites us to climb on board. That's a great idea. What a good ending. Now I have an idea for my next story. It's going to be about a boy who climbs aboard a rocket ship and takes a trip to Mars. Now, I think I know just how to begin. So he ended his story with the Martian saying, "Come on board, let's go." What a good ending. And there's his illustration for his ending. Okay, so parents, there is an attachment of an anchor chart, which is titled Fiction, and it talks about all the different parts of the story. So if you will go through that with your child and discuss each part of the fiction story, and then you can use our story, A Squiggly Story, to help them understand those parts a little bit better. So you can talk about all the characters, you can talk about the settings in the story. So if they changed, like some of them were on a desk in a classroom or at their house. Another setting of his story was at the beach. So you can go through that story with them and discuss all the parts, the beginning, the middle, and the end, and submit the assignment when you're finished. So if you have any questions, please reach out to your homeroom teacher. Have a good day, guys.